The stars were quiet in this part of space. Captain Park stood at the main window of the human warship Iron Resolve, watching the darkness stretch out forever. Her ship was old but strong. It had seen many battles and carried the scars to prove it. Behind her, the bridge crew worked in calm silence, checking screens and monitoring systems. They were on patrol duty, far from Earth and far from any friendly station. The Galactic Accord had given humans this lonely stretch of space to watch. Some said it was because humans were new to the galaxy and did not deserve better territory. Others said it was because only humans were crazy enough to patrol the empty edges where pirates and slavers liked to hide. Did not care about the reasons. She cared about her crew and her mission. Lieutenant sat at the communications station, his eyes moving across multiple screens at once. He was young but very good at his job. He could hear patterns in static that others missed. He could find signals that others thought were just noise. Today he found something. Captain said, his voice suddenly sharp. I am picking up a distress signal. Turned away from the window. Origin. Unknown system, about 16 hours away at full speed. Pressed buttons, trying to clean up the signal. The message is weak and broken. I am trying to clear it now. Dr. Han looked up from her station. She was the ship's, an expert on alien species and their cultures. Her job was to help the crew understand the many strange beings they might meet in space. She walked over to the station, curious. Can you identify the species? Asked. Nodded slowly. The language pattern matches. His face changed. She looked worried. They are a peaceful species. They are scientists and healers. They have almost no weapons and no military. If they are sending a distress signal, something very bad has happened. The broken message finally came through the speakers. It was a soft, scared voice speaking in a language that the ship's computer quickly translated. Please, anyone, help us. They came without warning. They are taking the children, please. The message repeated, growing weaker each time. Felt her hands tighten into fists. Children, she said quietly. Captain said, I am also detecting energy signatures in that system. Multiple vessels. They do not match any Galactic Accord members. Checked her database. They have a small research station in that region. It is called the Gentle Dawn. They study plant life and develop new medicines there. The station has a school for young whose parents work in deep space. A school, repeated. Her voice was flat and cold. The bridge was silent. Everyone understood what was happening. Someone had attacked a peaceful research station. Someone was taking children. Ensign, the young tactical officer, spoke up. Captain, if we respond to this signal, we will be 16 hours from any backup. We have only 3 ships in our patrol group. We do not know how many enemies we will face. I understand the math, Ensign said. I am not saying we should ignore it, added quickly. I am saying we should know what we are flying into. Looked around her bridge. She saw fear on some faces. She saw anger on others, but she did not see anyone who wanted to turn away. Dr. Han said, tell me about the... Took a breath. They are small beings about 1 meter tall. Their bodies are fragile. Their bones are thin and their skin tears easily. They evolved on a world with low gravity and mild weather. They cannot fight. They cannot run fast. They survive by being kind and useful to others. They trade medicine and knowledge for protection. And if they are captured by slavers? His voice became sad. They will not last long, are sensitive to stress. Their hearts can simply stop if they are too frightened, the children especially. Closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, her decision was made. All ships change course for the distress signal coordinates, maximum speed. The Iron Resolve turned, and the 2 smaller escort ships followed. The engines roared to life, pushing them toward the unknown. Worked to send a message back to Galactic Accord Command, telling them what the patrol group was doing. But he knew the message would take hours to arrive, and help would take days to reach them. Whatever happened next, they were on their own. Down in the ship's main hall, the Marines were already preparing. Sergeant checked her weapon for the third time. She was a small woman with short black hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. Her team trusted her completely. Corporal Lee sat nearby, packing extra medical supplies into his bag. He was the team's combat medic. He always carried more than he needed, just in case. "Do we know what we are facing?" asked. "Not yet," said, "but the captain does not call us to prepare for nothing. Something bad is waiting for us." "Children," one of the other Marines said. The message said something about children. Stopped checking her weapon, her jaw tightened. "Then we make sure we bring them home." Hours passed. The crew tried to rest, but few could sleep. They ate their meals in silence, each person thinking about what was coming. Stayed on the bridge, watching the screens. As they got closer to the system, the sensors began to show more detail. His face grew pale as the data came in. "Captain," he said, "I count 9 vessels surrounding the station. Their energy signatures match known profiles for the collective." Gasped, "They are slavers. They raid weak species and sell them to the highest bidder. They are cruel and they are dangerous." 9 ships said, "We have 3. Did not blink, then we will have to be clever." The iron resolve dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Before them, they could see the small station, surrounded by ugly warships like wolves around a wounded animal. And even from this distance, they could see the shuttles moving between the ships and the station, carrying cargo that knew was not cargo at all. "Open a channel," said, "let them know we are here." The screen flickered and suddenly a face appeared. He was reptilian with dark scales and yellow eyes. He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Humans," they said, "I am Commander. What brings you to our little harvest?" Stood tall, "Release all of them now." Laughed, it was an ugly sound. "Why would I do that? There is plenty here to share. Join us, predator to predator. Take your portion and go." His voice became ice. "I will not ask again." Leaned closer to the screen, his eyes bright with amusement. 3 ships against 9. You are famous for being dangerous, but you are not stupid. Go home, little human. This prey is ours." The screen went dark. Turned to her crew. Every face was watching her, waiting. "Battle stations," she said. "We are getting those children back." The research station Gentle Dawn floated in the darkness, its lights flickering like a dying candle. Once it had been a place of learning and healing. Now it was a prison. Inside the main control room, Elder Physician pressed herself against the wall, trying to stay invisible. She was old for her pale blue skin wrinkled and her large eyes dim with exhaustion. Around her, soldiers moved through the station, breaking things and laughing. Had spent 40 years building this place. She had trained hundreds of young physicians here. She had helped create medicines that saved millions of lives across the galaxy. Now she watched as everything she loved was destroyed. But none of that mattered anymore. Only one thing mattered now. The children. 43 young were locked in the lower levels of the station. They were the sons and daughters of researchers who worked in deep space. They had come here to learn, to play, to grow. Now they huddled together in the dark, too scared to even cry. Had managed to hide a small communication device before they captured her. She clutched it now, sending out her desperate message over and over. She did not know if anyone would hear. She did not know if anyone would care. Then suddenly, a new voice came through the device. It was speaking the common galactic language, but with a strange accent. "Station, this is Captain Park of the human warship Iron Resolve. We have received your distress call. We are here to help." Nearly dropped the device. Humans. She had heard stories about them. They were called beings from a planet so dangerous that simply surviving there made them terrifying. Some said they were violent and unpredictable. Others said they were the fiercest warriors in the galaxy. But right now, They were the only hope she had. "Human ship," whispered into the device. "Please, they have taken our children. 43 young ones are locked below. The mean to sell them." There was a pause. When the human captain spoke again, her voice sounded different, harder, colder. "We understand. Stay hidden. We are coming." Outside the station, Commander watched the 3 human ships with amusement. His fleet surrounded them completely. 9 against 3. The humans were brave, but bravery could not change mathematics. His communication officer signaled him. "Commander, the human captain is hailing us again." Grinned, "Put her through. I want to hear her beg." Captain's face appeared on his screen. She did not look scared. She did not look worried. She looked like someone who had already made a decision. Commander said, "This is your final warning. Release all captives immediately. Withdraw your ships from this system. If you do not comply, we will use force." Burst out laughing. His crew laughed with him. "Final warning, little human, look around you. You are outnumbered and your threats are meaningless." "I am not threatening you," said calmly. "I am telling you what is about to happen." Smile faded slightly. Something in her voice bothered him. There was no fear there, no hesitation, just cold, absolute certainty. But he was a commander. He had conquered dozens of weak species. He had built his reputation on cruelty and strength. He would not be intimidated by one small human. "Let me show you something," said. He gestured to one of his soldiers who dragged into view. The small creature was shaking with terror. "This is what happens to those who resist us." Before anyone could speak, drew his weapon and killed the with a single shot. The body crumpled to the floor. On the human ship watched. Her face did not change, but something in her eyes went very, very cold. "You should not have done that," she said quietly. "What are you going to do about it?" sneered. "Die nobly, go ahead. My ships will destroy you in minutes and then we will finish our harvest." Reached forward and ended the transmission. For a moment she stood completely still. Then she turned to her crew. "All weapons online. Target the nearest vessel. Fire everything." The Iron Resolve opened fire. In space, there is no sound. But if there had been, the noise would have been deafening. Human weapons, designed for a species that had evolved fighting for survival on one of the deadliest planets in the galaxy, slammed into the ship with terrible force. They had expected a careful, measured response. They had expected humans to fight like most species did, with caution and self-preservation. They did not expect humans to charge directly into their formation, guns blazing, like predators who had found their prey. The first ship exploded before it could raise shields. "All ships attack pattern Delta," commanded. "Stay together, protect each other, make every shot count." The 2 escort ships followed her lead. They were smaller than the Iron Resolve, but they were fast and their crews were well trained. They weaved between the larger vessels, firing at weak points, never staying still long enough to be targeted. Commander stared at his tactical display in disbelief. One of his ships was already destroyed. 2 more were damaged. The humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. "All ships concentrate fire on the lead vessel," he screamed. "Destroy them." The fleet turned their weapons on the Iron Resolve. The human ship shook as energy blasts struck its shields. Sparks flew across the bridge. Crew members grabbed their stations to stay upright. "Shields at 60%, reported. "Keep firing," said. "We need to create an opening." Down in the Marine Bay, Sargent felt the ship shake around her. She knew what was happening above. She knew her captain was taking hits to give her team a chance. "Everyone ready?" asked. Her team nodded. They were fully armed and armored, ready for close combat. Corporal had his medical bag packed tight. He had added extra supplies for treating, whose bodies were different from humans. "The moment we have a clear path to that station, we go," said. "Our mission is simple. Find the children, protect the children. Bring the children home, everything else is secondary." "What about the inside the station? one Marine asked. Checked her weapon one more time. They are in our way, we remove them. Above them, the battle raged on. The iron resolve destroyed a second ship but took heavy damage in return. One of the escort ships was hit badly and had to fall back. But slowly, painfully, the humans were pushing through. Inside the station, Elder watched the battle through a cracked window. She saw the human ships, so small against the fleet, fighting with a fury she had never witnessed. They were taking terrible damage. They were probably going to die, but they kept fighting. For her people, for children they had never met. Did not understand humans. She did not know why they would sacrifice so much for strangers. But as she watched their ships burn and still press forward, she felt something she had not felt since the attack began. Hope. On the iron resolve, a console exploded, throwing an officer across the bridge. Grabbed the wounded crew member and helped them to safety before returning to her station. Status report, she demanded. Shields at 30%. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12. 2 ships destroyed, 2 damaged, 7 remain operational. Paused. Captain, we cannot win this by firepower alone. Smiled grimly. Then it is time for the next phase. Signal Sergeant, tell her the path is clear enough. It is time to board that station. The order went out. A shuttle bay door opened on the iron resolve. A single armored shuttle shot out, flying low and fast toward the station. Inside the shuttle, and her team held on tight as the pilot dodged enemy fire. Approaching the station, the pilot reported, docking in 60 seconds. Stood up, weapon ready. Behind her, her Marines rose as one. Remember, she said, 43 children are waiting for us. Let us not keep them waiting long. The shuttle connected with the station. The airlock hissed open, and the humans went in. 12 minutes, that was all the time they had. Sergeant looked at the 43 children around her. They were scared. They were fragile, and they needed to move faster than their small bodies could carry them. Everyone listen to me, said, keeping her voice calm. We are going to leave now. Some of you will need to be carried. That is okay. We will not drop you. We will not leave you. Do you understand? The children nodded, their enormous eyes fixed on her face. Marines, pick up the smallest ones. 2 children per person if you can manage it. We move fast, but we move careful. Go. The Marines did not hesitate. They holstered their weapons and lifted the children into their arms. The children weighed almost nothing compared to what the humans were used to carrying, but they were delicate. Every Marine knew that one wrong move could break a tiny bone. Corporal lifted a small boy who was shaking so badly he could not walk. I have you, he said gently. Just hold on to my neck. The boy wrapped his thin arms around and buried his face in the human's shoulder. They started moving. On the iron resolve, Captain received the news through her communicator. Her face did not change, but her grip on the arm of her chair tightened until her knuckles turned white. Self-destruct in 12 minutes, she repeated, and they have 43 children to evacuate. Captain said, the shuttle that took our Marines to the station cannot fit everyone. We need more transport. Made a decision instantly. Launch every shuttle we have, every escape pod, anything that can fly, send them to that station now. We'll target them. Then we give the something else to worry about. All ships, focus fire on any vessel that moves toward the station. Protect those shuttles with everything we have left. The order went out. Shuttle bay doors opened across the human fleet. Small craft shot toward the dying station while the warships formed a protective wall around them. Inside the station, Dr. Han was running through burning corridors. She had convinced Captain to let her join the evacuation. She was not a soldier, but she understood. She knew how to calm them, how to help them. She found the others moving through a smoke-filled hallway. The children were crying now, unable to stay silent any longer. The sound broke her heart. I am here to help, said, falling into step beside. How can I assist? Talk to them, calm them. We need them to stay still while we carry them. Moved among the children, speaking in a soft voice. She told them about Earth, about the beautiful blue oceans and the tall green trees. She told them about the stars they would see when they were safe. She promised them that everything would be okay. The children did not fully understand her words, but they understood her tone. Slowly, the crying faded. The shaking eased. They reached the main corridor leading to the docking area, and there they found Elder waiting for them. The old looked exhausted. She was leaning against a wall, barely able to stand. But when she saw the children, her face lit up. "You saved them," she whispered. "You actually saved them." "Not yet," said. "We still need to get them off this station. Can you walk?" Tried to straighten up and nearly fell. Caught her with his free arm, still holding the small boy with the other. "I will carry her," said a Marine named. He lifted the Elder gently onto his back. "Honored Elder, please hold on tight." "You are all insane," said, but there was wonder in her voice. Wonderful and completely insane. They continued moving. The station shook around them as the self-destruct sequence continued. Panels fell from the ceiling. Steam burst from broken pipes. The lights flickered and died, leaving only the red emergency glow. 8 minutes left. They reached the docking area. Through the windows, they could see the battle still raging outside. Human shuttles were approaching from multiple directions, dodging fire from the remaining ships. Pilot Shin was flying the lead shuttle. He was young, barely 25 years old, but he flew like someone with decades of experience. His hands moved across the controls with perfect precision as he dodged blast after blast. "This is Shuttle 1, reported. "Approaching docking bay. That opening looks tight, Captain." "You can make it," his voice came through his communicator. "I have seen you park in spaces." "You have never seen me park anywhere." "Then show me what you can do." Smiled grimly and pushed his shuttle forward. The docking bay was partially collapsed, with debris floating everywhere. He would have to fly through a gap barely wider than his shuttle. "Hold on," he muttered, mostly to himself. The shuttle shot through the gap, scraping against metal on both sides. Sparks flew. Warning lights flashed, but they made it through. Inside the docking bay, heard the shuttle land. She ordered her Marines to start loading the children immediately. "Smallest ones first," she commanded. "Then the others. Move, move, move." Marines passed children through the shuttle door like a living chain. Hands reached out to catch them inside. Other survivors who were helping however they could. A second shuttle arrived, then a third. His voice came through the communicator. "We have room for 30 on this shuttle. How many more?" 43 children plus Elder and other survivors, reported. "We need more space." "More shuttles incoming, 2 minutes." Looked at the countdown timer on her display. 6 minutes until the station exploded. It was going to be close. A warship appeared through the windows, weapons charging. It was targeting the docking bay directly. If it fired, everyone inside would die. Then the Iron Resolve appeared, placing itself between thee and the station. The enemy fire hit the human ship instead. The Iron Resolve shook from multiple impacts. Fire erupted along its hull, but it held position, protecting the evacuation with its own body. On the bridge, gripped her chair as the ship took hit after hit. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead. Around her, crew members worked frantically to keep systems running. "Shields down," reported. "Hull integrity at 40%. We cannot take much more of this." "We do not need to take much more," said through gritted teeth. "Just a few more minutes, just long enough to get those children out." Back in the docking bay, the last children were being loaded onto shuttles. Counted heads, making sure no one was left behind. 43 children all accounted for. Elder and 12 other survivors safe. Her Marines battered but alive. "Everyone is aboard," she reported. "We are leaving now." "About time," his voice came back. 3 minutes to detonation, please hurry." The shuttles began to separate from the station. They were heavy with passengers, moving slower than they should. Behind them, the station was falling apart. Was on the last shuttle to leave. She looked back through the window at the place that had been a school, a research station, a place of learning and hope. In 2 minutes, it would be nothing but debris. But the children were safe. That was what mattered. The shuttles raced away from the station. They were in chaos now. With more than half their fleet destroyed and their prize escaping, they were starting to retreat. Commander's ship was already turning away, abandoning the fight. The Iron Resolve continued to fire, driving the remaining ships back. It was a broken, burning mess of a ship now, but it was still fighting. 1 minute. The shuttles passed the Iron Resolve, saw the damage up close and felt her heart tighten. So many sacrifices, so much pain, all for children who were not even human. 30 seconds. The station exploded. The blast wave hit the shuttles, pushing them forward like leaves in a storm. For a terrible moment, everyone was thrown against the walls. Children screamed. Adults held on to each other and prayed. Then it was over. They were alive, they were free. And behind them, the Iron Resolve hung in space, damaged but unbroken, its mission complete. The human fleet limped through space, their ships held together by emergency repairs and determination. The Iron Resolve was the most damaged of all. Entire sections were sealed off because they no longer had atmosphere. The engines ran at half power. Every few hours, something new broke down and the crew rushed to fix it. But they kept flying, because they were carrying precious cargo. The children stayed in the ship's main hall, which had been converted into a temporary shelter. Marines who had been fierce warriors in battle now sat on the floor, playing gentle games with children who barely reached their knees. Corporal made rounds every few hours, checking on the young ones, treating small injuries and offering kind words. Sergeant found herself with a small shadow. The little girl with golden eyes, whose name was, refused to leave her side. Wherever went, followed, holding onto the edge of her uniform with tiny fingers. "You are supposed to rest," told her gently. "Your body needs to recover from all that stress." Shook her head. "I rest when you rest. You saved me, now I protect you." Did not know what to say. She had fought in many battles. She had saved lives before. But she had never felt anything quite like this. A child from another world, trusting her completely, wanting to protect her in return. "All right," said finally, "but when I rest, you rest too, deal?" Nodded seriously, "Deal." Elder spent her time talking with Doctor. The two of them sat together for hours, discussing everything that had happened, was trying to understand. "Why did you come?" she asked. "We have no alliance with humans, we have nothing to offer you, our species is weak, we cannot help you in war, we cannot give you resources, why risk so much for us?" Thought about the question for a long moment. "Humans have a strange history," she said finally. "For most of our existence we fought each other, we did terrible things to our own kind, wars, cruelty, injustice, but somewhere along the way we learned something important." "What did you learn?" "That our greatest strength is not our bodies or our weapons. It is our ability to care about others, to protect those who cannot protect themselves. When we saw your distress signal, when we heard that children were being taken, there was no debate, no discussion about whether it was worth it. We simply came." His large eyes glistened. "On our world we have a saying, the measure of a species is not how it treats the powerful, but how it treats the helpless. By that measure, humans are remarkable indeed." The fleet finally reached a Galactic Accord medical station on the 5th day. Word of what had happened had traveled ahead of them. When the human ships docked, they found a crowd waiting. Diplomats, doctors, journalists, and curious onlookers filled the station. They had come to see the humans who had fought impossible odds to save strangers. They had come to see the children who had been rescued. Captain stood at the front of her crew as they disembarked. She had a bandage on her head and burns on her arms, but she walked with her back straight. Behind her came her Marines, then the survivors. The crowd was silent as walked out, still holding his hand. The tiny girl looked around at all the faces staring at her. For a moment, she seemed afraid. Then she looked up at who squeezed her hand gently. "It is okay," said. "These people want to help." Nodded and walked forward. A tall, elegant being stepped out of the crowd. Ambassador, a senior representative of the Galactic Accord. His skin was silver and his eyes were deep purple. He was known throughout the galaxy as a strict enforcer of rules and protocols. He approached Captain Park, he said, his voice formal. "You engaged in combat operations in neutral territory without authorization from the Galactic Accord. You attacked vessels belonging to the Collective. You have potentially started a diplomatic incident." Met his gaze without flinching. "Yes. Your actions were reckless and provocative. You could have started a war." "Yes." Ambassador studied her for a long moment. Then he turned to Elder. "You are the senior survivor from the Gentle Dawn station. Will you tell us what happened?" Stepped forward. She was still weak, leaning on a staff that the humans had made for her, but her voice was strong. "They attacked without warning. They killed our defenders in minutes. They took our children and began loading them onto slave ships." She paused. "Then the humans came. Commander contacted them. He offered them a share of the captives, a partnership between predators, he called it." The crowd murmured. Ambassador raised a hand for silence. "And what did the humans do?" he asked. "They refused. They demanded the release of our children. And when he murdered a hostage in front of them, they attacked." His voice broke. 3 ships against 9. They were damaged, burning, dying, and still they fought. They sent their warriors onto our station to save children they had never met. They gave their bodies as shields to protect our young ones. She turned to face the crowd. "The humans did not owe us anything. We are not allies, we are not powerful, we had nothing to give them, but they came anyway, they bled for us. Some of them may have died for us." She looked back at. "That is what happened. And if that is a diplomatic incident, then the Galactic Accord needs to reconsider what it values." The station was completely silent. Ambassador looked at the children, who were clustered around the human Marines like chicks around mother birds. He looked at the wounded soldiers, who stood proud despite their injuries. He looked at Captain, who had risked everything for people she did not know. "The Galactic Accord finds that the human fleet acted in justified defense of innocent lives," Ambassador announced. "No charges will be filed. This matter is closed." The crowd erupted in applause and cheers, but was not listening. She was watching, who had climbed into his arms and was now waving at everyone like a tiny queen greeting her subjects. The fierce sergeant was smiling, really smiling, for the first time since the battle. Later, as the survivors were being taken to medical facilities and the ships were being prepared for repair, a message arrived for Captain. It was from the Collective. "You have humiliated us, human. You have destroyed our ships and stolen our property. This insult will not be forgotten. The Collective declares vendetta against the human species. We will have our revenge." Read the message, then she deleted it. Ensign, who had seen the message, looked worried. "Captain, should we not report this? They are threatening war." Shrugged. "Let them threaten. We have faced worse. But what if they actually attack? Then we will respond." Looked out the window at the stars. "That is what we do, Ensign. When someone cries for help, we answer. And when someone tries to hurt the helpless, we stop them. It is that simple. Even if it means making enemies." Smiled, but there was steel behind it, especially then. News of what the human fleet had done spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Species that had dismissed humans as violent primitives began to reconsider. Species that had feared them began to hope. Within weeks, the formally requested an alliance with Earth. Not for protection, they said, but for friendship. They wanted to learn from the humans. They wanted to understand what made them so fierce and yet so kind. Other species followed. Small delegations arrived at human stations, asking questions, seeking partnerships. The galaxy was waking up to a new truth. Humans were, yes, they were strong and fast and terrifying in battle, but that was not what made them dangerous to evil and comforting to the weak. What made them special was choice. They chose to protect. They chose to sacrifice. They chose to answer cries for help no matter the cost. And in a galaxy full of predators and prey, that choice made all the difference. Back on the repaired Iron Resolve, Sergeant received a package. Inside was a small drawing made with the colorful inks that children used. It showed a tiny blue figure holding the hand of a larger brown figure. Underneath, in shaky letters, was a message. "Thank you for coming, love." Hung the drawing in her quarters, where she could see it every morning when she woke up. It reminded her why she fought.